be, it's going to be a special trip for us that way. I think, I would like to have had a little more time in terms of practice with the new guys, just because you're still trying to figure some things out. But we're going to do it on the fly, and the best thing about it at the beginning of next year is we'll have game footage and experience, and we'll kind of know where guys are a little bit, and who needs work on what, and maybe we'll know a little bit more about what guys play a little bit better together, and so it's certainly it's a good advantage for us to utilize this time, and something that I know that we've all looked forward to.
What does a guy like Tevin Mack bring to the table for you?
Yeah, Tevin's a talented scorer and an experienced player, which on a team with no seniors is really important. He and Curran both have been through the wars and played at a high level, so both guys are used to playing against size and speed and experience and in front of big crowds, and so I think that's important. Tevin specifically is a guy that I've known for a long time, recruited him in high school, and just have always been impressed with the way he can score. He's a guy that can make baskets, and our team needs that. We certainly lost some really good players and guys that scored a lot of points for us, and so just having a guy who's a proven scorer, I think, really helps this team.
You brought in a couple more, Honor and Moore. Obviously, they'll have to sit out a year, but Moore's a forward, Honor another guard. Are you looking to bring in another grad transfer for the front court, or are you done with this wave of transfers?
No, yeah, we're done. We're out of scholarships, and obviously Jonathan Baer's injury is, really was wet blanket on us for here a little bit. Feel awful for Jonathan just because of how hard he's worked all last season, both physically to get himself to where he can be a really good player, and then also his skill level to be able to do some different things, and he made some great progress. And then you just hate to see a guy like that, have an injury right away and have to be out for a while, and that's part of why I went out and got Tevin, and knowing that we needed more depth. I think Kayvon is going to help us, in the front court some. He's coming off an injury last year where he really didn't get to do much at Texas Tech. He didn't even practice that much, so we've got to be patient with him a little bit. But I like his size and length. He's 6'8", dribbles and passes, and a guy who can play some different positions for you, so that's really good. And then Nick's just a really good little point guard that can make shots and plays with good speed, and has been through a year of college basketball, and played very well in his year at Fordham, and so we really like his addition. I think he's a smart guy, and seems to be picking things up pretty quickly.
Does Baer, is he going on the trip with you, and B, how long before he can start getting back and maybe trying to get back to health?
Yeah, well, he is going on the trip, and he's doing great in terms of surgery, and a couple weeks out of surgery. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done. I don't know about a timetable. We're certainly optimistic that he'll be able to play this year at some point. Obviously things need to go well and progress for a while here, but he's working really hard at it. Training staff, doctors done a great job with him, and we'll just cross our fingers and hope that he'll be ready at some point this year.
So anything you learned on that
Was
last
this a full
trip?
circle recruiting process with Tevin, given that you recruited him out of your high school, and then you're able to kind of recruit him again on the back end as he finishes out
Yeah,
his career?
I certainly think it was an advantage, and certainly that's part of what you're doing in some of these recruiting situations. You recruit guys, and it's a little bit like Shelton Mitchell. We didn't get Shelton Mitchell the first time, and we got him on his transfer. Ironically, we didn't try to get him the second time when he left Texas. So there's been some time. We kind of joked about it during the recruitment. I'm glad that he's finishing his career in the state and thinks I think he has a chance to really, leave a good legacy. He's had some good things happen to him in college basketball, but I think he has more to prove, and he's certainly a mature guy that's seen a lot, and I think he's excited about the opportunity. He knows we lost a lot of good players and talented scorers, and that we were looking for another guy to do that, and that's right up his alley. So I think he's very excited about the opportunity.
Is there anything you learned on that last trip that, you know, yeah, I'm gonna put that knowledge to use this time, or anything that you took away from
You know,
it?
this is much different than kind of the trips to Spain or Italy that we've taken previously. Those are a little more probably sightseeing and a little more adventure driven, and the basketball's a little bit secondary. The practices are great, just like the practices for this have been really good. But obviously when we get over there, the basketball will take a front and center stage, and so we won't do quite as much of the sightseeing and all the other things that you kind of get to do. So it's a little bit different that way, but I think it'll be good for this team.
The three-point line moving
Yep.
to international length next year, you had that in the NIT, now you're going to have it again this summer. How much do you think that experience will benefit your guys?
I don't know that the experience of playing on it just for a couple games is a big deal, but I do think that you can notice when you're practicing that it's making a difference. Like it may not look like a long way or a lot further, but it's a little bit noticeable for certain guys. Your guys that are your best shooters aren't as bothered by it, aren't looking around for it as much, but guys that are trying to stretch their range, the line can be a factor. I think you also see it a factor in the corners because the line is now really creeping close to the sideline, and so there's a lot more guys stepping out of bounds. You know, and the footwork that you got to have is essential to shoot that ball from the corner, especially if you're on the move at all.
With Marquise and Eli about to get started with the summer league, have you spoken to them? Where they're, you know, it's an interesting dynamic that you still kind of have to put in some work, even though you've had really good college careers.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of how hard it is to make NBA teams and to get drafted. I mean, our sport is, you know, unique in that there's only 2 rounds. Most of them, obviously, college baseball has 1 million rounds, and even football has, I don't know if it's 7 or something like that, has a lot. And so there's all kinds of really, really good college players that don't get drafted. And I believe a guy like Fred VanVleet from Toronto, I don't think he was drafted. And now he's got an NBA championship and was a big-time player on an important team. And so I think that's kind of that's the goal for guys that, you know, that doesn't happen to right away, is you just got to hang in there and battle. And certainly Marquise and Eli still have opportunity to showcase what they can do, and I know they're both really excited. I've talked to them both.
Coach, what's the next step for Clyde, given that he took advantage of a lot of opportunity last year, getting more minutes
Yeah.
as he enters year 3? What do you guys envision for him?
Yeah, just consistency. I think it's, you know, there's a lot on you when you're expected to deliver every night, and when a big part of the success of your team is determined by how well you play. That's the responsibility that Marquise and Eli had last year, and you know, Dante Grantham, Gabe DeVoe the year before that. I mean, when you're one of the older players on the team and you're one of the best players, when you don't play well, it's hard. It's hard to win. And so just understanding that whatever it is that we're asking you to do, that you're doing it at a really high level. And then I think the second thing is just being a very good leader, and you know, helping to coach the morale of the team, and to lead in a way that keeps guys positive and get you through some adversity, and not letting your individual game affect your leadership. And so I think some guys really struggle with that. Their games, the way they play affects everything else. And when you become one of the 2 or 3 guys on the team that everybody on the team's looking at, you know, how you handle your attitude and when you're not playing well is sometimes the next big challenge for players to get past.
What does it mean for the top 2 NBA picks from the state of South Carolina? You know, there have been other great ones in the past, like Kevin Garnett, but just what does it mean for the state, if anything, just recruiting the state, and especially a guy like Morant, to know that there are diamonds in the rough out there to get?
Yeah. Well, 2 different guys completely. Zion was obviously a guy that we knew from the 9th grade was going to be extremely special. And, you know, it's funny, I had a lot of people ask me last year, you know, did I see what Zion was doing at Duke? Did I see that coming? And yeah, we did. We had seen him enough to know that he was better than people realized. That obviously everybody saw the freak athlete, but the strength in his athleticism, his quick twitch, his ability to jump quickly and to make plays was clearly evident. But if you knew him a little bit, you also knew that he was extremely competitive, he was bright, and he was more skilled than most people realized. Even though he wasn't a great shooter going into college, for a guy with that size to be able to dribble and pass and move like he could, I mean, really difficult for college players to guard him. And then Ja Morant was completely different, kind of an unknown guy who physically was not ready, and that's why he was, you know, overlooked. But he went to a place and got to go to a school where he got to put the ball in his hands as a young player, and obviously he grew and developed, and you know, has just developed into an incredible talent. And you know, he has a great feel for the game, and you know, it's nice to see both those kids do so well.
Coach, after the Steve Smith departure and bringing in Coach Goins, relatively quick turnaround for you. How did you handle that whole situation, maybe personally, and just kind of that quick turnaround and bringing it?
Yeah, just you know, it's one of those situations you hate to see it happen, and obviously Steve made a mistake, and you know, I hate it for him. But you know, we're going to be fine, and there were certainly plenty of folks that wanted the job, and